Welcome, everybody. We're delighted to have you with us this afternoon. This is the 14th of December of 2021, and I'm Don Snow. I'm here in St. George, Utah, and we're going to talk about the Utah Digital Newspapers website. Our host today is Gerhard Roof, president of our Utah Valley Technology and Genealogy Group, and he's up in Orem. And we certainly appreciate him with all the hard work that he does for us. The notes for the class are at that website at the bottom of the page there, and I'll show you a little bit more about them and talk more about them in just a minute. Let's see. I clicked and nothing happened. Let me see if my arrow key, there's arrow keys. The details that are in the notes are going to be the following. This is the Utah Digital Newspapers website. We're going to talk about the contents that are in there, searching, how you search on the digital newspapers, how you download and use screenshots for them, and we'll show some examples of all of that. So that's the general idea. Now here's the class notes, and there's that URL again for the group. UVTAGG is Utah Valley Technology and Genealogy Group, and that's the where my web page is. We'll get into those in just a second. There are links on that page to the videos of past classes and how you watch the classes live on either Zoom or on Facebook. If you're watching on Zoom, which everybody's invited to now, you're welcome to. Gerhard will post this later on YouTube, on our YouTube UVTAG YouTube channel, and this is also going out on Facebook. So you may be watching this from Facebook. If you're watching this from somewhere else, we'd be interested to know where you're watching it from. Now let's go into the notes. Let me show you. I'm going to do a Control Tab here and go to where my notes are stored, and they are stored. They're not there. They're stored. For some reason, this is not changing. I'm going to have to, for some reason, I'm going to have to click in here to get back to where the notes are stored. They are right. Dawn's classes. This is the URL that will get you that URL that we talked about. This is where all my class notes are stored. I'm going to scroll down a little bit on here. There's some articles here, other sorts of things, and then the class notes start here. Class is coming up. This is the one today. This is the 14th of December, so 2021-12-14. This is the second Tuesday of the month, and we're doing today the Utah Digital Newspapers. I'm going to hold down the Control key while I click that so that it will open the newspapers notes in a separate tab. So here we go. This is the tab for the Utah Digital Newspapers notes that I've written. There's an abstract in there, and you can read through the abstract. It'll tell you overall what we're doing, but most of it the details will be in here. You won't have to follow it. I've added an article in here, in item 3, which I won't talk about in this class, but it's on here, how you can read all these notes in a foreign language if you want to. I'm doing this same class for Roots Tech 2022. And so for them, there'll be people watching this from foreign countries and foreign languages. And so I'm indicated in there how you can convert all these notes to Portuguese or even Chinese if you wanted to on there, but we won't take time to do that here. There's item 5 here is the problem for today about the Utah Digital Newspapers website and how to use it. There's a little bit of information here on newspapers, and there's a link in here. Item 9 is a link that may help you find historical newspapers besides the Utah ones. Today we're only talking about what's here in Utah in the United States, but this link has historical newspapers from all over the country, and in fact maybe even some foreign countries. The Utah Digital Newspapers website, we're going to do most of this stuff in demos here and examples in a minute, but all the details are here, so you don't need to take notes on what's going on with them. We'll talk a little bit about searching and how you use the search tools that are built into this website, and they're really, really helpful. And then we'll talk about how you read and download the articles, and we'll show you some examples. And every time I teach a class like this, I find more stuff on me or on my folks. I found 2 more articles this morning about me that I did not know about, and one yesterday that my wife was in 1952 was mentioned in. Diane died 9 years ago, but you just find all kinds of information. Then there's the conclusions down here, which we'll come back and talk about later on. Okay, now let me go back here to this page and just to summarize a few things about the newspapers in the U.S. They started in the U.S. in about the 1600s, and I think they started in England shortly earlier than that. And I don't know whether they were in any other place in the world before that, but they start from about, so it's about 400 years that we've been having newspapers. Keep in mind that there's, besides news, there's vital records in there. Most recent vital records are private, and you can't get to those, whether it's a birth, marriage, death, divorce, or something like that. But many of those are in newspapers, and newspapers are public documents. And so you may be able to find a vital record in a newspaper, whereas you can't get to it with the actual vital record. There are ads, and even classified ads, and some of those are helpful. There's whole examples of those. Certainly obituaries are a major part of newspapers, and legal notices or building permits. If you want to add on to your house, you got to get a building permit. That's listed in the newspaper, and you may find information about it. Lots of public documents. And small town papers are loaded with information about what happened in the town, because people coming in to visit the town or parties or whatever are important news items. And so you find all kinds of stuff in the small town papers. The Utah Digital Newspapers website is run by the University of Utah at the Marriott Library. They've gotten grants from national groups, as well as they ask for donations, but it's free for everybody. They don't nag you for donations at all, so it's completely free to search. That right now they have 3.5 million pages of Utah newspapers.
This is Utah Digital Newspapers.
Say that again. 1 million pages of papers. Okay, is that the question? Okay, and those are from nearly 200 newspapers. I had no idea we had that many newspapers in Utah, but there's a lot of little ones that only started and only ran for a few years and so on. They're searchable and they're downloadable. And the goal is eventually to get all the Utah newspapers, though some of them they don't have permission to do it, and so they can't put them on there. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Examples and demos. Now there's the link right there at the bottom, https://digitalnewspapers.org for the Utah Digital Newspapers. Notice it doesn't have Utah in it. It just, when they first got started with this, they chose that URL, and it's just Utah. Of all the 50 states, and many other states do have a program like this, not all of them, but many do. But here, if you type in just digital newspapers, that's the Utah one, and so you get to that. Now, let's actually go to the website and actually see if we can see what we can do and finding some information about it. Here's the website itself. I've already got I put a link right here. That's a link to get to it. It's just that digitalnewspapers.org. And this is what it looks like. There's these things at the top here where it says browse, paper scanned, about, help, and contact. I recommend that you read all of this stuff that's in help first. I'm going to hold down the control key and click on that so that it'll open that in a separate tab here. Notice that there's information here, how to search. There's a little write-up there about how to do the search. There's information here on opening one-page articles, a one-page or an article. There's information on removing the highlights. When you search for something, it's highlighted in the article, and you may want to download the article or print it off without having that highlighted. I tend to leave those highlights in there so I can find it later on and it shows up. Anyway, here's information on a lot of different things here, and it won't take you very long to go through this, but it will give you a major help and step forward in what to do on the website itself. Now, at any place in the website, to get back to the home page, click on this thing over here in the left. You see where it says Utah Digital Newspapers? Just to the left of that is an icon. If I click on that icon, it takes me right back here to the home page. Now, on the home page, we've looked at those labels across the top. Let's just scroll down on the home page. First of all, on this day, and it looks to me like what they do is, and I didn't check these dates, but I assume they're today's date, which is the 14th of December. There's the Deseret Evening News. I don't know which year that one is, but that's the Deseret Evening News. If you click on this arrow over here to the right, there's the Ogden Herald. December 14th, that's 1881. This one is the Provo Daily Enquirer. I'd never even heard of that paper. December 14th, 1891. Look at these things, are way back there. Here's the Park Record from up in Park City, and so on. This is just what happened on that date, today's date, in some of those past issues, and they run that at the top here. I'm scrolling down a little bit further, and you see over here to the left, recent additions. There's they've added recently the Ogden Valley News from 2004 to 2021. So that's fairly new, I guess, on there. The Provo Daily Herald from 1922 to 2009 is on there. These are some of the newer things. Here's in the news. There's a few news articles about it. Here's a little bit about them and about their program. And if you want to donate, you can. And where they get their money from. They've got grants from the Library of Congress and several of the big organizations in the U.S. Now, notice if I scroll back up to the top here, notice it says here, search all newspapers. Now, I'm going to put in here, I'm going to type in, and I'm going to put it in quotation marks, my dad's name, E-L-D-O-L, Eldon Snow. Now, because it's his full name was Eldon Stafford Snow, I really need to look for Eldon Snow, Eldon S. Snow, Eldon Stafford Snow, Snow, comma, Eldon, and things like that. But right now, let's just use this one. I click on search, and now this is searching all the newspapers, all those 3.5 million pages of the newspapers in Utah, and it found with Eldon Snow in exactly that pattern. That's what the quotation marks mean. It found 68 hits. We're seeing numbers 1 through 25 of 68 of them. Now, I find it helpful to look down here where you see gallery view. If you click on gallery view, well, I click on this download arrow over here, it'll go down, and you can put up to 200 hits on it. I find it helpful to look at all the hits at once so I can scroll back and forth and so that I can see them, or I can use a Control F, which is a search tab, search thing to get on the whole page. Now, as I scroll down through these things are sorted by the date and ascending, and there are other ways you can sort them here if you want to. There defaults to sorting by ascending date. Here's the newspaper. It says that there was an Eldon Snow mentioned in the Washington County News in 1900-01-27. Now notice that that's international date format, the format that I keep talking about that works to alphabetize chronologically. So in 1900, in January 27th, there was an article. And it had the name Eldon Snow in that article. The name of the article over here was Roll of Honor. I thought, well, maybe my dad was born in 1891. This is 1900, so he's 9 years old. Maybe he made the honor roll in school. When I clicked on this, it lists the Sunday school uh, for who was available in 1899, who had missed different dates for being in church. Let me click on it so you can see. I'm going to hold down the control key, though, so it will open it in a separate tab over here. Here's the article. Here's the article itself is when you go up to the top of it, I thought it was school, but it says Roll of Honor. It says for the St. George Sunday School for the year 1899. Dad was 8 years old. It says he missed 3 Sundays. He's down here with the in the third one that he missed three Sundays. Here he is, someplace down in here. You see Eldon, where is it? It's in there somewhere. There it is, Eldon Snow, and all these other kids that missed 3 Sundays. It wasn't an honor roll at school at all. It was this thing. Now, if you want to make a copy of that, there's several different things you can do. And let me describe a couple of them, and then we'll look at some other things, some other possibilities. Let me roll this back up to the top up here. You see right here, it says download file. If I click on that, it will download exactly this file. Now notice that this is just one article. This is not the whole page of the paper. In some cases, they've gone through and selected out the articles. In other cases, they only point out that it's on a certain page and you have to find it yourself on that page. I don't know, it probably depends on where they got their data from which university and so on, because this organization, at the Willard, J. Willard Marriott Library at the University of Utah, they're contacting all the other university libraries and anybody that's got copies of newspapers or microfilm copies of them. They're borrowing those to run them into here. And some of them may have already been sorted out, like this one, with an article itself. So here, if I download that, it will just be the article. It won't be the entire page itself. Here's a reference URL that will tell you exactly where that was, or you could use the reference to it. And then the parent record, which is the page that it was on. Over here to the right is some other information about what else is on that, and the details of the thing. Now, I find it helpful to download the article by clicking on this download thing, and then once it's downloaded as a PDF, then I can use my own programs on my own computer to trim it up or to size it the way I want, or even make it darker or lighter, depending on the picture of the thing. Let me go back and show you another article that I came across about a year ago. I noticed this one. It's down here. It's on my dad. All these have Eldon Snow in them, and there was only one Eldon Snow. Well, there were 2 Eldon Snows, because my uncle named one of his kids Lee Eldon Snow, and so Lee Eldon Snow shows up in here too. But most of these are about my dad. In 1945. That's right after the Second World War. I'm scrolling down here till I find this. There's a bunch of articles about my dad here in the First World War. He was in France and Germany and the trenches and so on, and wrote back letters, and they're all in here. They published them in the newspapers. But down here in 1945, there's one I just happened to chance onto. Let me keep scrolling down to find where it is, and show you the kind of stuff that is completely unexpected to find in here. Here it is, 1945, July 12th of 1945. It says local news. Okay, I'm going to click on it. I'm going to hold down the control key though while I click, so that will open up in a separate file here. Here it is. Let me see if I can make it a little bit larger so that you can read it. And it says Mrs. Mary R. Bowler did something or other. Look at this the second paragraph down here, all of this stuff. Donald Snow, that's me, son of Dr. and Mrs. Eldon Snow of Studio City. It says Hollywood, but it's really North Hollywood. Arrived this Thursday morning with his cousin, Lieutenant Dean Snow, for an extended visit. This is the 1945 newspaper here in St. George. Now, Dad and Mom used to send me up here from California. Dad was born in this area and went to school here, but then went back down to California after the First World War. He went to dental school at the University of Southern California, USC in Los Angeles. So I grew up in LA. They stayed down there afterwards. But they'd send me up here for a couple of weeks in the summer with my Uncle Harold and his family, because he had boys that were about my same age. And we had a good time palling around together up here. I had no idea this was in the newspaper. I searched for my dad, but I found my own name in here from 1945. So that nails down one of those trips that I came up here that summer. Dean was he was a lieutenant in those days. It was the Army Air Corps. It was before the Air Force, and he was stationed in Los Angeles. He was a pilot for B-52s, I think it was, something like that. But this is right. The war is ending in 1945, in around the summer of 45, and so Dean drove up here, and I guess I drove up with him. I rode up in his car. I had no idea about the time I came up here, but that's an example of the stuff you find that's completely unexpected. But here it is in the newspaper, in the St. George newspaper in 1945. So I've already done a screenshot of that one to make sure that I've got a copy of it. That's the kind of thing that you can find in here. In the last couple of days, you know, in preparation for these classes, I keep finding new stuff on myself or on my family, my dad. I found last night, I found an article about Diane, my wife, in 1952 in an American Fork newspaper, of all things. She was a student at BYU in 1952, and her sister had gotten married, and somebody had a dinner for the sister and her as newlyweds, and Diane was invited, and they mentioned that Diane is the sister of the bride. That's brand. I had no idea that was even in there until I did a search. You keep finding new stuff, and they keep adding new things to the program as you get them. Now, one of the things that I've found really helpful, as I've mentioned, is to download the whole newspaper, the whole page of it, and then work with that. Let me give you an example. Let me show you on using this. This is the program, everything that we use. This is the Provo Herald, Provo Daily Herald, and it was in 2003, I think. I've just found these articles this morning. I downloaded the whole article. There it is, Provo Daily Herald on 2002, that one is, on the, let's see, that's the 3rd of August of 2002. It's in page 17. Let me double click on that and open up the whole page so that you can see what it is. Let me, come on, open up. It's okay. All right, now this is opening in my program on my page. This is I downloaded the whole page, the whole PDF, and it's a page of the Provo Herald, and I had it open to, I looked on here to find exactly where my name was that occurred on here. Look at right down here in this corner. This is the lower corner of that page. Provo. Donald R. Snow will speak on cleaning up your PAF database at the PAF users group, which will meet from 9 a.m. till noon on August the 10th in the church at 4000 North Tentview Drive, Provo. The goal of the users group is to help people use technology to further their family history. Visit www.uvpafug.org. That was our old PAF user group website. Or call 225-6106 for more information. You may not recognize that phone. That's Gerhard Roof's phone number. Still is. This is 20 years ago. And there's the article from the Provo Herald. I was the speaker that day. cleaning up your PAF database. And if you want more information, call Gerhard. It doesn't say Gerhard, but call his phone number for more information. I just found that this morning. And so now I've downloaded the whole page by clicking that download. Now I can roll the mouse wheel to make this a little bit larger or smaller so that it looks good. And then I can use my local programs here to cut off a piece. I'll do that. I'll click on this thing, which is this fast stone capture that I've talked about many times. And I'm going to use the rectangle right there. And I'm going to put the little rectangle right around all of this and move this over to there and make sure that I've got the whole thing covered. I think I do. Okay, there's a click. It's saved. Now I'm going to name this with my naming system. This is an article about me, Snow Donald Ray, born in 1931. Now, this is a newspaper, 2002. I forgot what the date was. I'll have to look that up. So right now I'll put XX-XX and I'll put it in there. Look up the news. It's a newspaper, so I'm going to put in news as a keyword. And I'll put article. I'll put Provo Daily Herald page. What was the page? Was this page 8? I think it was page 8. I'll have to go back and double check and make sure I get this straight. Page 8, article about UVPAFUG and a DRS speaker. Okay, now dash. Now I want to put where I got this. I got this from the Utah Digital Newspapers. And today's date, 2021, 12/14. And then I'll get rid of all the other stuff that's on here and I'll put .pdf. .pdf. And now I'll hit enter. Okay, now that piece is saved. And now if I go back over here to the program, the everything program, there'll be a page here. Here it is. Okay, now I can see what the date was. It was 2002-08-03. So now I can correct that in here and get that accurate. So that newspaper article occurred in 08-03. And to get rid of the X's that I put in there. And what page was it on? Was it page 17? So it wasn't page 8. The other one was on page 8. So it's page 17. That'll help nail it down if I ever want to search for it again. Article about, etc. There's the article. Now that's what the article looks like. So now that will alphabetize exactly in the place where it belongs on my when I do search for my name with the news article. And I did not know about that until this morning. So anyway, you begin to see what's going on with this. Okay, now let's those are examples from the website with what's going on. Let's summarize what we've talked about. We've talked about the Utah Digital Newspapers website. And it's just a loaded website with good stuff. If you've got anybody that you or anybody else, ancestor or any problem person, you could type them in here and see what you get. And you never know what you're going to find. Like I wouldn't have guessed that my name would have been in the newspaper in 1945 in here. The goal was to get all newspapers here, their goal. But some won't allow them. The ones that, for example, BYU Student Newspaper, The Universe, used to be in here. But now BYU has asked them not to put it. I guess it's because it's not in there anymore. They're posting it on their own website, I guess, and so you won't find all newspapers. I was hoping that all newspapers would be in here, so that it would be a one place for all newspapers in Utah. 300 million pages of newspapers are on there now, searchable and downloadable, and it's completely free. That's the story. Now, do any of you have any questions that you'd like to ask or comments? If so, unmute your mic and ask away. And by the way, there's on this screen, there's my, if you're watching this later on, there's my email address right there in yellow on this thing. And it's on all the notes and everywhere else that you can think of. So if you have a question and you're watching this a year from now and you want to ask me a question, I'll be glad to try and answer it. Any questions? Or Gerhard, are there any questions on Facebook?
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
This is Connie Wade
Hi.
Ferber.
Hi, Connie.
I grew up in Fillmore, Utah. The Progress was digitized from, well, I don't remember the start date, but it ended in 1939. And then they started redoing it in 1970. So all of the articles that I was in hasn't been digitized.
Oh,
You know why they've skipped?
well, they're still working on it. They've got lots of stuff. If they've got, I have no idea what percent they're up to now, but you could look on the thing, and as they get new stuff done, they add it to it. And so hopefully they'll find the copies of those. That's another question. Who's got copies of those newspapers that they can digitize?
I know they're in the library in Fillmore, Utah, because I found the year that I was born and I made a copy of the whole page.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Yeah, eventually they'll show up here. Thanks, Connie. Connie also mentioned, and it didn't get recorded, she also mentioned that at family history centers, you can see the newspapers website for free. However, that's only the large newspapers. That doesn't include all the small town papers like the Utah Digital Newspapers collection does. Well, I appreciate all of you watching this afternoon, and hope that you found something of help and of interest to you on our presentation.